Hey guys, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Flash Season 6 review series, and today I'm going to be talking about an episode that I have been very much looking forward to talking about. And in my opinion, if I was to put together the top 3 best episodes of Season 6, I would put at number 1 Episode 7, The Last Temptation of Barry Allen, Part 1, and at number 2 I would put Episode 14, Grodd Friended Me, and at number 3 I would put this episode, which I'm going to be talking about, and that's Episode 15, The Exorcism of Nash Wells. Now, you've heard the old saying, a good hero is only as good as the villain he faces, or you've heard the other saying, you can't keep a good villain down, and this is no exception to the Reverse Flash. Ever since the Flash started, going all the way back to Season 1, Reverse Flash has been going out of his way to make Barry Allen's life a living hell ever since the night that he killed Barry Allen's mother, Nora Allen. And Reverse Flash, in my opinion, he's the ultimate opponent. He is the Flash's greatest enemy. There is no other villain who I can think of who's been on the show that's given Barry Allen and Team Flash more hell than Reverse Flash, aka Eobard Thawne. Now, a lot of that is down to the excellent performance of Tom Cavanagh, and you've heard me say this many times. Tom Cavanagh is the most versatile actor in the entire Flash cast, and that's all due respect to Grant Gustin, Candice Patton, Jesse L. Martin, all of those guys. Love all of them. They're doing a fantastic job, but there's just something about Tom Cavanagh. Each character he plays, as I've said many times, all feel different, they all look different, and he's just amazing in every role you put him in, especially all the different versions of Wells. But there's something a little bit special when he plays the Reverse Flash. All due respect to Matt Leshner, who played Eobard Thawne in a few episodes, but I like Tom Cavanagh's Reverse Flash the most because he's got such a calm yet sinister presence, and his sinister voice that he has really just gives you pure chills right down to your spine. And especially when he's talking in that distorted voice and his eyes are glowing red, he's a real monster of a villain. And with Tom Cavanagh and Grant Gustin, every time they're in a scene together, especially when he's playing the Reverse Flash, it's dynamite. And Grant Gustin has come a long way as an actor. I'm not saying in Season 1 he was terrible. He was a great actor, but he's really matured, and you can really see how much the character Barry Allen has grown from Season 1 to Season 6. If I remember, in one episode, I think it was The Man in the Yellow Suit, Barry Allen came across as a bit of a child, which is no fault of his, because he's quite young. And I remember that line where he sees the Reverse Flash for the first time officially, and he screamed out, "Why did you kill my mother?" It just sounded a bit, like childlike, but it was still cool. But here, when Reverse Flash returns, you can clearly see, and it's good in a way, you can clearly see when Barry Allen knows that the Reverse Flash is back, he's just like, "Ugh, you again. I'm getting really sick and tired of your crap, Thawne." It really shows in this episode that Barry Allen wouldn't hesitate to just, rip his head off, and who would blame him, Especially the guy who killed your mother, I'd probably rip the guy's head off too, but the scenes with Tom Cavanagh and Grant Gustin is some of their best work, especially in this episode, and they always steal the show in every scene they're in together, but this episode is probably their best work, and I really enjoyed this episode a lot. And I think, in my opinion, I probably enjoy the Tom Cavanagh and the Grant Gustin stuff more than Candice Patton. And I love Candice Patton, I absolutely adore her, but the whole mirror thing is meh, doesn't do it for me. But these two, I love these two so much, and they absolutely kick ass. So, how does Reverse Flash come back? Well, we're going to talk about it. That's why we're here. So, let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about episode 15, The Exorcism of Nash Wells. So this episode kicks off with Eva addressing Mirror Iris and now Mirror Camilla and giving them the task of retrieving a device that she needs for her long-term plans. We learn that it was sold to Mercury Labs, but now Eva wants it brought to her. The whereabouts of the real Camilla remains a mystery. Now, the reason why Camilla is missing, because at the end of the last episode, Camilla learned that Iris was not the real one at all, due to taking a picture of her and Wally sitting together, and Camilla looked through the camera lens and saw Iris sitting there in her full mirror form, and she was then sent off to another dimension within the Mirrorverse using the mirror gun. So the whereabouts of Camilla remains a mystery, but I'm pretty sure we will find out what's happened to her soon enough. Meanwhile, Joe meets with Singh and reveals that he thinks there is a mole inside of the CCPD for Carver's Corporation. Meanwhile, in the pipeline, Nash tells them that he's been seeing different versions of Wells, including Harry Wells. Caitlin discovers that there are multiple brainwaves at play, meaning Nash is pretty much all of the different versions of Wells at the same time, but in his head. Nash reveals that he has a neural splicer that he can attempt to get rid of Thorne, but it turns out that the splicer was a ploy for Thorne to escape. Barry catches him and almost kills him. Cisco manages to stop Thorne. Caitlin kicks Barry out of their efforts to help Nash. Cecile arrives with a lot of crazy supplies for the exorcism. She can feel the negative feelings from Thorne inside Nash. She's the Thorne detector to let them know when Nash will be back. It ends up sending us back to a flashback to Earth 719, where Nash comes across a girl named Maya who has sort of broken into his adventure camp. She helps him discover a valuable treasure. Turns out the kid has no parents anymore and he informally adopts her. We flash back to the present. Nash confronts Thorne inside the mindscape, where Thorne draws his power from Nash's emotional pain. In Nash's mind, Thorne tries to get him to re-experience a truly negative memory, Maya's death. It starts to give Thorne's powers back, but Cisco is able to stop him long enough for Cecile to knock him out. Sunshine shows up when they try to transport the refractor. She takes everyone down, but Barry shows up to help as himself, not as the Flash. By surrounding her in darkness, it stops her powers and they take her out. Singh suggests that Sunshine could be the mole within CCPD. Cecile figures out that Nash is caught in a loop of grief and remorse and pain over the loss of Maya. Nash has to be the one to kick Thorne out, and they decide to go into Nash's mind to force Thorne out. Inside, Cisco goes to Nash's aid while Barry stands in the way of Thorne. Oh, it's getting good now. Thorne is unable to taunt Barry over his grief for his daughter Nora, and Cisco helps Nash face Maya's death on Earth 13, a year ago, where she loses her footing and falls to her death after retrieving a memory cell. Facing the pain of that loss, Nash blames himself still, but it's a form of control over his pain. It's enough to destroy Thorne, sending red lightning into the atmosphere as Nash wakes up and returns, even though he is in deep emotional pain about Maya. We learn that Eobard Thawne is still out there, but without a body, so the door is left wide open for Eobard Thawne to return. Nash remains being all of the Welleses at once, a crisis of infinite Wells. We also see that Mira Iris and Mira Camilla are able to get the refractor to Eva, who plans to use it as part of her escape. We also see Barry uses Velocity X, the same Velocity X that Zoom used back in Season 2 to augment his speed, but his body rejects it. Barry decides that they will use their artificial speed force of information in Nora's journal. And that pretty much wraps up episode 15. Excellent episode, one of the best of Season 6, and as I said, I would put that up there with episode 7 and episode 14, and this is probably the best episode of the post-crisis, and certainly up there with the Grodd episode. I really like this a lot, and Tom Cavanagh was at his absolute evil and sinister best, and amazing performance and amazing acting from Grant Gustin as well. Everybody was on top of their game, and I really liked this episode a lot. So, I'm going to wrap this up now. What did you think of episode 15? Did you enjoy it? Did you think it was good? How do you think Eobard Thawne will return? Do you think he'll be back for maybe Season 7? And what special plans does Eva have? And how do Mira Iris and Mira Camilla figure into them? Will Barry and the rest of Team Flash learn that Iris and Camilla are not who they say they are? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will be back next time for another edition of the Season 6 review series, where I'll be talking about episode 16. So until next time, take care everybody, and stay safe.